protected for up to 3 years. The oral cholera vaccine protects you from severe cholera symptoms and reduces the spread of cholera in the community. Do not miss to be vaccinated during the oral cholera vaccination campaign happening in your area. Remember, even after getting vaccinated, it's important to continue practicing good hygiene and sanitation. Always treat your drinking water to make it safe. Use a toilet. Never defecate in an open. Wash your hands with clean water and soap, especially before eating and after using the toilet. And if you or anyone you know shows signs of cholera, seek immediate treatment. If you or anyone of your family member or community is experiencing cholera signs and symptoms, report immediately to your nearest health facility, health worker, or community leader for medical assistance. For more information, contact the Ministry of Health or call our toll-free number 6666. This message is brought to you by the Ministry of Health with support from WHO, UNICEF, and partners.
Your voice matters more than you know. Every time you call iRadio, every time you share your perspective, every time you give your opinion on air, you are practicing freedom of speech. You are protecting media freedom. You are keeping independent radio alive. You are actively participating in the governance process. Many may not realize it, but those calls, comments, and conversations are not just talk. They are acts of public participation, the heartbeat of a free and open society. By speaking up, you help hold leaders accountable, raise community issues, and shape national conversations. Without your voice, the microphone goes silent. Keep calling, keep talking, because when the people speak, democracy breathes.
The Dawn on iRadio.
Well, a very good morning to you and welcome to the second hour of the Dawn program here on iRadio, a live broadcast from the capital, Juba. My name is Emmanuel Joseph Akile, and today is Thursday, the 26th of June, 2025, coming to 17 minutes now after the hour of 7. Now, in the second hour of the Dawn, we're going to talk about wildlife conservation with focus on safeguarding the Great Nile migration. Now, in June or this month, African Parks and also the Ministry of Wildlife Conservation and Tourism mark over 2 years of collaborative management of Boma and Badingilo National Parks, home to the Great Nile migration landscape, which hosts the largest land mammal migration in the world. Now, the landmark 10-year renewable agreement signed in 2022 aims to protect biodiversity, promote community-led conservation, and also develop ecotourism in South Sudan. So to shed more light on this, I'm joined live in the studio by Dudu Douglas Hamilton, Regional Operations Manager, African Parks, and Colonel Charles Loku, Director of Media and spokesperson of the ministry. It's good to have both of you in the studio. Welcome to our radio.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Now let me start with you, Dudu. You have completed over 2 years of managing Boma and Badingilo. Tell us more about African Parks work in general.
Thank you. Well, first of all, it's a great honor to be here to speak to you and to the people of South Sudan. So we started our work 2.5 years ago, and our main focus is to really rehabilitate and protect Boma National Park and Badingilo National Park and what we call the Great Nile Migration Landscape. And this is a huge area. It's about 150,000 square kilometers. And we're working in close partnership with the ministry to rehabilitate and restore both the ecology, but also to work very closely with the communities and join hands in conservation.
All right. Now, Charles, why did the government of South Sudan partner with African Parks? And tell us, what does this partnership really mean for the future of protected areas in the country?
Yeah, thank you, Emmanuel, for hosting us in iRadio. I also would like to thank Madame Dudu for her time to be with us. Wildlife is an international resource. And for us to conserve it well, we need partners. And one of the partners we identified was the African parks, who have got experience in 13 African countries, and their track record is good. So the Ministry of Wildlife and Tourism signed a 10-year agreement with African parks. And within a short time, we are so impressed with the work that they have done in the Badingilo and Boma National Parks. They have a lot of activities. They fly flights every day. They have patrols. They have many other activities that we cannot afford as the Ministry of Wildlife and Tourism. So they are a very strategic partner, and we love working with them.
Right.
Thank you.
And Dudu, what would you say are the biggest successes you have seen or achieved so far on the ground? You talked about people have been flying almost every day. So tell us more about that.
Yeah, well, we've been working very hard since we arrived, and I think one of the most important things that one has to do when you initiate a conservation effort of this scale is you've really got to understand what's happening on the ground. So you need to understand what's happening with the wildlife, and also importantly, how the people and the communities utilize the natural resources and what their needs are. So one of the big initiatives that we've been doing is flying comprehensive reconnaissance surveys. We did our first one in 2023, and that enabled us to identify that, in fact, South Sudan has the largest land mammal migration on Earth. 6 million animals, and this is something to be immensely proud of. But in addition to that, we have collared 127 animals in 2024, and then an additional 140 animals. And this is on multiple species. And this collaring data really allows us to see how the wildlife is moving across the landscape, and most importantly, to identify where the critical areas are. And the critical areas are the places that need the highest level of protection, without which the migration could become completely compromised. So where we are today is we really have a deep understanding now of how the animals are moving and using this landscape. But alongside that, we've also been working very closely with the local communities and really engaging with them to try and understand what's important to them, how do they use the land, what are their needs, and how can African parks help to improve their livelihoods through wildlife conservation.
Right. And Charles, let me come to you. Tell us, how is the government partnering with research institutions and maybe NGOs really to maintain long-term monitoring of biodiversity in your operations?
Yeah, in South Sudan, we have got many partners who are partnering with us. For the Boma Jongole landscape, we have the African parks. In Western Equatoria, we have got Fauna and Flora International. In the parts of Eastern Equatoria, we have got the Njonjo Foundation and other local partners who are partnering with us. Because, you know, this wildlife, it has got so many values. It has got scientific value, it has got the cultural value, it has got the educational value. We also partner along with the University of Juba, because those are the people who are going to spread the knowledge to many other students and so forth. So we are open to that. Thank you.
Yes. And Dudu, how does date influence really immediate conservation decisions such as patrol deployment or actually habitat protection? Would like you to dwell more a little bit on that.
So data is critical to all conservation. You really need to understand what's happening on the ground in order to focus your conservation efforts. So this has been a core part of what we've been doing in South Sudan, is getting this data and deepening our understanding. And we're able to now, where we stand today with this clear understanding of where these critical areas are, where the important corridors are, where the migration has to move from and to between the wet season and the dry season. This is all the information that is going to drive our conservation efforts. So we're now in a position to really focus in, both in terms of building up community scouts who can go and raise awareness in these critical areas, but also to start designing a program of protection.
Right, bring us about 24 minutes after the hour of 7. Let's go for this short break and we'll be right back and continue with our conversation. Good morning.
The Ministry of Health is conducting a commemoration of African Vaccination Week with rotavirus vaccine targeting all children aged between 6 to 10 weeks. Take your child to the nearest health center during the African Vaccination Week or the Big Catch Up campaign.
Good morning, Mama Nyandeng.
Good morning, Mama Mercy. Where are you coming from this morning?
I had taken Mercy for rota vaccine at the health center to protect my child against rotavirus diarrhea in infants and children. She was also vaccinated with other routine immunization vaccines at no cost. Is baby Mercy already vaccinated?
Yes, she was vaccinated last month. Does she need to be vaccinated again?
Yes. She needs to be vaccinated with at least 2 doses of rota vaccine at 6 and 10 weeks to be fully vaccinated, immunized, and protected against rotavirus.
Really? I just heard from afar that there will be a vaccination campaign during the African Vaccination Week, but I was not keen enough to get the details.
You know, rotavirus vaccines are effective in preventing diarrhea and deaths in infants and young children. This vaccine has just been introduced this year, 2025. A lot of children were not vaccinated. Some even travel without being vaccinated. I wouldn't want to see any child get diarrhea.
I didn't know that rotavirus is that serious, that it can even cause death.
Yes. Rotavirus is a life-threatening disease caused by the virus. The signs are fever and vomiting, followed by watery diarrhea, and can cause abdominal pain and dehydration. Children who survive may be dehydrated, which can cause serious complications.
Dehydrated or serious complication? Oh, that sounds scary. How can I protect my child from this dangerous disease?
The only way for your child to be safe is when your child and all children in your neighborhood are vaccinated with rota vaccine.
I will do that immediately. Where can I take my child for these vaccines? Hope it's not late.
No, you are not late. Rota vaccine and all the other routine vaccines are available at all health facilities and designated health centers located in your areas. Tell all your neighbors with children between 6 to 10 weeks to be vaccinated.
I'm glad you told me. I will take my child immediately to the nearest health center for rota vaccination.
Bring your child to the nearest vaccination site and protect them from rotavirus and vaccine-preventable diseases. This message is brought to you by the National Ministry of Health with support from WHO and UNICEF.
It's the break of a new dawn, and this is the dawn on iRadio.
Welcome back from the break. You're still listening to the Dawn program here on iRadio, live broadcast from the capital, Juba. We're still talking about wildlife conservation with focus on safeguarding the Great Nile migration. I have two guests with me in the studio, Dr. Douglas Hamilton, Regional Operations Manager, African Parks, and Colonel Charles Lacour, Director of Media and also the spokesperson of the Ministry. Now, Charles, let me come to you. What steps are being taken now to strengthen wildlife law enforcement in response to the growing bushmeat trade, and especially along new highway corridors? And if you talk about bushmeat, the ministry has been deeply engaged in arrest and ensuring that this is something that can be handled. So what would you say?
Yeah, the Ministry of Wildlife and Tourism has got boots on the ground, especially on the Jongole Highway. We have got a lot of checkpoints and we also do patrol. In fact, we support the African parks in the area of patrolling and law enforcement because that is part and role of the government. So the area is vast and resources are small, but we are trying our best to ensure poaching is reduced. We cannot eliminate it totally, but it's reduced. And compared to the past months, I think the poaching is going down. There's a lot of success stories about...
Give us some of them, like statistics. How is it going down? How can you prove that?
Yeah, in the month of April, March, and Feb, but down there, our statistics showed that over 8,000 animals were killed. And of recent now, we are getting smaller numbers, like 50, like 100, and so forth. So it means the law enforcement, the law enforcement unit is doing its best to see that the poaching is reduced. And with the help of our partner, the African parks, they also give us coordinates of poachers. If they see them in the air, they give us the coordinates, and our forces rush to apprehend them. Like yesterday, I was in Badingilo National Park. The pilot reported to us that some giraffe had been killed, and people were already skinning the giraffe. So our forces were informed, and I think they rushed to the scene. We are here to get a comprehensive report on that.
Right. And Dudu, how do you help the ministry? Since you mentioned that you have been also supporting in how to track these poachers. So how do you do that, and how effective is it? Do you think it's actually helping in terms of having positive results?
Thank you. We, as the Colonel mentioned, we have a very high ability to survey from the air and to see what's happening on the ground. And I think that, again, it's about knowledge and eyes on the ground that is very helpful. But we are also putting a lot of effort, taking our community agents to go out to the communities and really talk to them about the law and the fact that this migration, first of all, is incredibly important to conserve. And also, it's really important alongside law enforcement that people are aware of the law. So we've been doing a lot of work trying to raise awareness about the fact that poaching is illegal, but also about the huge negative impact that a commercial bushmeat trade can have on a migration like this, and to really try to make people to become active supporters of conservation rather than the poachers and the buyers and the sellers. So I think, this work is very, very important. It's early days. We have a lot to do still. And we are working to support the ministry in this way. And I think hopefully over the years we're going to see increasing success, and raising awareness and getting support from the ground, from the communities, from the people in the urban areas is absolutely critical alongside this important law enforcement work.
Yes, and talking about community, Charles, do you think the community is actually facilitating or collaborating or supporting your efforts, and how best it can be enhanced?
Yeah, this community conservation is a new paradigm in the Ministry of Wildlife and Tourism. And with the support of our partners, communities are beginning to understand the importance of wildlife. And as a result, are getting dividends of the conservation efforts. Like around Badingilo, we have a number of groups who have got do beekeeping. They've been processing the honey, they get extra income, and that removes the appetite from the wild animals because they're getting money and they can buy meat from the market and so forth and so forth. So we're working together to ensure that the communities embrace wildlife conservation, and we encourage partners to partner with us to give them projects which are environmentally friendly, like the beekeeping, even mushroom growing maybe in the near future, and other activities that doesn't compromise with the decline of the animals.
Right. And Dudu, what partnerships beyond national government are most critical to ensuring the future of ecologically critical areas?
So it's very interesting when you look at the data of where this migration moves and the area that it is utilizing. You'll see that probably up to 70% is outside of national parks. So the migration is moving across indigenous land, and our, other than the government, our next most important partner is the community. The community needs to be central to our conservation solutions. And so this is something we're really focusing on a great deal, is that we want the community, first of all, we need to learn from them. We need to understand what's important to them. How are they utilizing their resources, and what do they need to live sustainably and to live well? And a big part of what Africa Parks wants to do is to really support communities to benefit from conservation by creating alternative livelihoods, which is, as Colonel Charles has mentioned, it's creating enterprises that can help support them. So this is a really big piece of work that we need to do, and we've already started. And this is going to exponentially grow, but the communities are 100% a part of the solution.
Right, let's now pick a few calls on 0911 or 22 986 986, or preferably you can send a text to 13 986 986. بنتكلم عن الحفاظ على الحياة البرية مع التركيز على حماية حجرة بتاعت نهر النيل الكبرى. طبعا في الشهر ده الحقيقة بتاعت المتنزهات الإفريقية ووزارة حماية الحياة البرية والسياحة بيتكلموا في موضوع بتاعت مرور أكثر من سنتين على الإدارة التعاونية لمنتزهي بوما وبدينجلو الوطنيين موطن منطقة هجرة نهر النيل الكبرى اللي بتشهد أكبر هجرة برية للثدييات في العالم. ده الوقت اللي فيه نرفع المكالمة. ده 0911-22986 and do have your question or comments to our guest in the studio. Be part of the conversation. Radio. نعم راديو. Yes.
Emmanuel Akile.
Yes.
أنا بهيك وأنا بهاي الوالايف على رأسه رزق زكريا والوزير بتاع الوالايف. والكان هاي بتاعه ميزة ديان اللي هو الموصول في والايف كله. أنت يا إيمانويل أكيله الوالايف ده ذاته هو بترول. هو الدولار براو. بالتالي إذا كان الذي والايف مكانه تماما دير دعم العالمي ودعم الإقليمي تماما ويترموها بما يصرف حيوانات تعمل ساكت ولازم يطلع قانون من البرلمان يا إيمانويل أكيله عشان الحيوانات بتاعنا ده ناس نستفيد منه. هو الدولار ناس ما يتكل قال هو الدولار لازم شنو البترول براو بترول يا ما في الدولار براو الحيوانات ذاته الدولار. عشان كده نحن كجنوبيين كله بلد بتاعنا ده بلد غنيان يعني دولار والرزق بتاعنا ده والكمية جنگ لازم نموك كلي دعموها بالأمانة دي كده يطلع قانون عشان أساكر ما يضرب الحيوانات ساكر سمل أساكر يا إيمانويل أكيله والدولة يدعموها لما يكون بميزانية تماما يطلعوا بتاع الوزارة المالية يدعموها بقروش ثقيل ويدوم العربات ويدوم التيارات ذاته يا إيمانويل مالو ما الوالايف عنده تيارات عشان قابات فيها فوق ده يضرب حيوانات لازم يدوم العربات تمام وسلاح تمام ولا وتيارات تمام عشان يلفوا. ما يدخل ساكت بلد غني يا إيمانويل أكيله وشكرا جزيلا.
شكرا لك سلطان جوزيف. هاي راديو. نعم تفضل طوالي.
كويس. أنا نرحب بضيوفك في الاستوديو بما يخص أن الحياة البرية في جنوب السودان. طبعا جنوب السودان من أغنى الدول في أفريقيا بموضوع بتاع الحياة البرية، لكن المشكلة بتاعنا هنا ناس ما قاعدين يهتموا. السؤال بتاع اللي بسأل نفسه الضيوف في الاستوديو، يومين في جوبا في تسرب بتاع حيوانات، أنت بتلقى اللحوم بتاع حيوانات في مطاعم بتاع جوبا بكثرة. أنا ما أعرف الشغل اللي بيجي كيف مثلا بعد ما في عندنا قوات الأرض الواقع، هل ما في تدبر من كيف القوات ده ولا كيف؟ بعدين نزول مثلا قتل الحيوان عقوبة حقه بيكون شنو مثلا؟ بيكون بالسجن ولا بيكون برمم برصاص ولا كيف؟ لأن إحنا قاعدين نشوف اللحوم بتاع حيوانات ده في جوبا هنا كتير. يلا بعدين كمان كان الحيوانات بتاعنا ده ماشية مثلا في الدول تانية زي أوغندا ولا كينيا، هم بيعرف كيف قال ده حيوانات بتاع السودان. ده يمكن السؤال بتاعي. شكرا.
شكرا لك. راديو.
الو.
يس.
ايوه ماما ماريا.
ماما ماريا تفضلي.
ay kan Emmanuel junub Sudan tan na de fogo jetti tis fogo iya hajali na sanin der la kunu mon ma bakina yawo bukutu la kabata fi junub Sudan ile ne ya da lakbar badun gede ne ya da lakbar badun gede sun ta kara da fi junub Sudan de musu dola le hasa ge galgal junub al kutu a gal de putu dola de kan kanu la kan gal junubin de mun geni tat mun jibo salam de nafsu to mun gani da afiya da gwada le quest da muhabba ke birto mun da ya salam da wallahi Emmanuel na gani na le futo America jato kan hajada le Sudan da futo America futo amne tamam security 100% ita bero ini la kadi yeye na gani gon soyomi be kuraja takita zero kurdu tamam ta ja jele kutu ita gal sunu yeye de kam jele kutu meken saten wonus aw talata saat yalla len ni 80 mile de meken saten wala so wonus ita dagli yubayni ita kan amul wahajata tamam ita ja ita la kula akil ali ita ya kurdu le nufsa tak wala ka der akil ali jaddi buleta ita gabiu najat madera jata moyot na madar hajal gudi len na sakin na dar istakal be guwata na asan kalamal muktufi babul galata be istakal be arak take ita bakul hajal nustiya ita garaba tamam ma fi ayan lakin de kullu ma fi am ya Emmanuel walidi karat kujuba kitil kelina sugeni fuata kelini sala
shukran lek mama Maria radio yes
معك فرانكو زيك
تفضل
انا عم لك وطيب في الاستديو عندي سؤال ثلاثه طبعا الحكومه الامريكيه منع منحه بالقروض يتم انشاء المحميات والحظائر هل القروض يعني الحظائر يتم انشاء بتاعته يعني ما يهاجروا للبلدان الاخر ولا وين القروض اللي حتى ما شفنا الحظائر بتاعته السؤال الاول السؤال الثاني الموضوع بتاع انه الحيوانات ذاتها في حد ذاته هم بيضروا المواطن خاصه المزارعين بالذات يعني المزارع اللي يجي الحيوان بيجي ياكل الزرع بتاعته ما منها بالفعل انه منهم تعويض للمزارع اذا كان المزارع اذا كان ما يقتل الحيوان لكن هم كوزاره الحيوانيه انهم الدوافع بيدفع ضرر للمواطن. شكرا جزيلا.
Alright, شكرا. Let's go on more call. Radio. Hello radio.
ده كورنجيرات من كورليوم.
تفضل.
أنا بسلم عليك يا إمام.
نعم. Hello. Alright, فقدناك في الخط. Hello radio.
Yes, Akile.
Yes.
This is me, Torpuk.
Torpuk, welcome. Hello Torpuk. Alright, we lost you. Let's pick this call. Radio.
Yes, good morning. Mandel Joseph Keller.
Yes, good morning.
You are connecting with that one Deng from Jebel.
Deng from?
From Jebel.
From Jebel, welcome.
Thank you. My regard goes to the guests of those who are in the studio with you plus you. So when we talk about our wildlife tourism, my question to the guests, it is how well they know if there is a giraffe killing in the bush or elephant. One. Number two, we don't have zoo or a gate that was built by our government in the bush in case to collect all wildlife to put them in one place, and then helicopter can go and check them up. How they are survived there. So number two, why our people are let our animals to be killed by our population in South Sudan, while they know how they can control them. And thank you.
All right, thank you. Radio.
Akile.
Yes. Nah, minu mana. All right, we have a number of questions. I think you got some of them. That is Dudu وكمان Charles بعد من الأسئلة ممكن تجاوب عليه بالعربي. And then Dudu will also add something. Sultan Joseph was talking about wildlife and comparing it with the oil. We should not only rely on oil. Wildlife is another way of also getting revenue. He's also mentioning the hard currency like dollar, and should be respected and should be protected. And he's also talking about laws that should be enacted to protect the wildlife, and that comes directly to Charles. Sultan Suleiman was talking about the need to address poaching in South Sudan, and also bushmeat can be. People are eating bushmeat in the restaurants. What are you doing as the ministry? Why is this happening? And what laws or punishment are there actually? And also he talked about migration. Mama Maria talking about peace is above everything. If we have peace, we can make good use of our natural resources, and also mentioning wildlife. This will also help us not to only rely on other countries to support us, but what is important is peace. Franco Sebit is talking about animals or wildlife destroying farms. Is there any way of compensating the farmers? This is also another issue. Then was asked in English, talking about we don't have zoo in the country. Why don't you collect all of this wildlife, put them in one place so that they can actually be protected? Yes, who wants to start first? Yes, Charles, further.
Yes, first of all, I would like to commend all the callers for the good questions. أنا بجاوب بعربي ولا بلغة إنجليزية؟
ممكن عربي بسيط بعدك.
أوكي. سلطان جوزيف ونسو كلام كويس، قال ولا بدأ بجوب إمكانيات لبلد، وده كلام حقيقة. ومباري أنا في بادينجلو ناشونال بارك، وأنا كان مرتاح عشان شباب تا بلدنا كان فوتوا هناك بطيارة، ويعني هم عينوا على الحيوانات، عينوا على المواكب. Well, that is the encouragement in again with the Shabab Tandas and Kelumunzadu ja own the animals by seeing them. And there is what we call domestic tourism. The Kalamta Dudu, yani can Indina peace. If there is peace, we can even have camps in the protected areas. People will come and enjoy life in the free world. Yeah, but the problem also is tied to peace, because we cannot guarantee the security of the domestic tourists or international tourists to come to the parks. Yeah, about the bushmeat, Indina Gawanin, Indina the Wildlife Act, which is already passed, but we have the Wildlife Bill, which is in the second reading in the Parliament, because we cannot take the law into our hands. So that bill, I think, is the second reading, is about to come out. Once it's come out, we shall enforce the law in fullness. We are aware that people are cooking meat in the hotels, and those people already warned. If we start one day to apprehend them, we will not give a notice. We just go from hotel to hotel, and we can pretend to order the meat, and then we arrest them there and then.
People would say these are even big people in the government who are eating the bushmeat. That's the issue now.
We don't eat bushmeat. Yeah, we are restricted, and if we do it means we're encouraging poaching. But we can do it as evidence that this meat is being cooked in the hotels, because in the law needs evidence. So the evidence is you have to lure them to bring the meat. And they will identify for us the sellers of those meat, and those are the poachers. Thank you.
Right. Yes, Dudu, you can now add to some of the questions and concerns raised by the listeners. Yes.
Thank you. I mean, these are really good and important questions that are being asked. So I think you're absolutely right. We need to see in South Sudan that this great migration and this intact landscape is one of your biggest natural resources. And yes, it is up there with oil and mining and everything else, and that's really how we need to look at it. We need to look at this as a natural resource that belongs to the people and the government, and how do we give it that level of priority and importance to protect, because it can bring a huge dividend to the country. And then the bushmeat trade, this is an issue all over Africa. The bushmeat trade and the commercial bushmeat trade can rapidly see a decline in animal numbers. So it is absolutely something that we need to focus on and make a priority through awareness campaigns. And actually, this is also a responsibility not just of the government, not just of Africa Parks, but also the people. Everybody needs to go out there and raise awareness about the importance of the migration, that it is a key natural resource to South Sudan, and that the commercial bushmeat trade should not be allowed. So I think the responsibility sits with all of us. And the other very important question that was raised was on, human-wildlife conflict. This, what happens when an elephant comes and breaks into your farm, or what happens when lions are around. Now, this is very important, and we are working hard to try and address this human-wildlife conflict, and this partly comes down to working with communities, finding and setting up community scouts, and figuring out ways to decrease this sort of conflict and identifying where the real hotspots are in the landscape. There'll be particular areas where this is happening, and where it sits within the Great Nile migration landscape, African Parks will work with the government and the communities to try to address this. I think the other really important thing that was raised, question of zoos, I don't think we need zoos necessarily, but what is critical is that we're able to restore Badingilu National Park to a point where the local people from South Sudan are able to go and see their wildlife and appreciate their wildlife, because it belongs to the nation. And so it's really important that we're able to sort of help and enable a domestic tourism trade. So it's early days for us. We've only been in the country for 2.5 years, so we still have a lot of work to do, but I want you to know that this really is an area that we're going to be focusing on.
Right. And now, Charles, I want you to share with us some of the challenges you're still facing in managing the parks, and also how can the public really help protect South Sudan's wildlife and environment, before Dudu can also talk from the side of the African Park. But I want you to speak from perspective of the Ministry of Wildlife.
Yes, like one of the callers mentioned, the ministry has got very, very competent leadership under Rizk Zakaria and under Kamisa Adiang. They are leading the ministry very well, but are under constraint with resources that can keep this work moving. In the ministry, we rely on informers. Most of the poachers that we apprehended, we have to get calls from good people, like the callers that have just called, that, hey, there's a Land Cruiser taking this number of game meat. Then we network and we arrest. There was one day we arrested a small vehicle carrying 52 animals, loaded to the brim. We couldn't know it without the informers. So we work together with the communities, like we have the community scouts. They move around with the rest of the people and they give us the information and we implement the law. So while the ministry is very active in conservation as we speak now, only the constraint of resources, like one of the callers mentioned, that we need to be equipped with the vehicles, with aeroplanes. If we had all those things in our hands, I can assure you, Akile, within a short time, even you will go to the park and you enjoy life there with your family, with your children, when they will see the animal in the natural wild. Earlier on, Madame Dudu mentioned about, answered the question about the zoos. These animals are not supposed to be confined. They're supposed to move freely to get resources at their own will. So when you confine them and unable to give them the required food, they get emaciated and, they will start to die. So zoo management is not a small enterprise, it's a big enterprise. So should we need a zoo, it needs a good planning, also need partners who know how to take care of the animals, with the resources to feed the animals, and so forth. So I think in the long run, we may have a zoo. We can start with the animal orphanage, but it's not a priority for now. The priority is to secure the migratory corridors so that the animals are freely moving in the wild without being disturbed. Thank you.
Right, yes. Dudu, challenges.
So there are, I think one of the main challenges is the commercial bushmeat trade, which we've already discussed. This is really a high priority issue that needs addressing. At the moment, the largest bushmeat trade is in Boer, and 2 years ago there really was not much of a bushmeat trade. So this can change very rapidly, and some of it is driven by connectivity. So when new roads go in and you create access to large markets such as Juba, you can see a commercial bushmeat trade explode, and it can happen very quickly. So at the moment it's in mostly in Boer, but there are also problems in Otalo Pochala and in other parts of the country that could become a major problem. So it's really important that we continue with this work. But I also think it's we're working very closely with the ministry in partnership, hand in hand. We're trying to address all these problems. I think the other key thing is that there's important and critical infrastructure development which is being laid down. Now, South Sudan needs roads, it needs infrastructure, but it's really important that this infrastructure is laid down taking into account the natural resource of the migration and the landscape, because also you can see critical corridors being cut off. So we are trying to work hand in hand with the ministry to create mitigation measures so that when these roads go in, that they're taking into account where the critical corridors are. And this has been done in many other countries where you have railways and roads and all sorts of things being laid down.
وقبل ما نختم بريفلي تشارلز، قبل في واحد من المتصلين وفي التعليقات برضو بيتكلموا موضوع بتاعت ليه حيوانات بتاعنا قاعدين يرحلوا مرات كثير منهم بيرحلوا من جنوب السودان لدول تاني، يعني وايلد لايف مايجريشن ده، يعني ممكن تقول حاجه في من ناحيه بتاع وزاره.
Okay, this wildlife, these are international resources. African Parks is helping us to color the animals so that we can monitor the movement of our animals, whether they're going to Ethiopia or they're going to Uganda or other countries. But also for us, as South Sudanese, we need to change our mindset. The animals are like human beings. When there is war, people run to the refugee camps. So when they're killing the animals, they also sense that danger. Like yesterday in particular, there were some animals moving within the people because they're not harassed. So they are very friendly, without any medication or whatever. They are just within the people because they find they are secure. So we have what we call the transboundary conservation. That's another set of conservation where we deal with neighboring countries to discuss how we can protect the animals from this side and that side, so that the one side cannot kill the animals. So that is what we are doing. We have transboundary with Kidepo National Park in Uganda. We have another transboundary cooperation with Imule National Park and those areas in Uganda. We're also going to have transboundary with Ethiopia, so that these animals are protected both here and there. Right. So let us stop killing the animals so that they don't go to refuge. Because now if the animals go away, what shall we be protecting?
Right. And briefly, what's your last message to South Sudanese citizens, especially young people or youth, about their role in protecting our national parks and also promoting eco-tourism?
Okay. My message to the youth is that these animals belong to them. For us, in the Ministry of Wildlife, we are custodians. We are mandated to protect the animals. But these animals belong to the people. So let us wake up and protect the animals. Previously, I said we were initiating contacts with the Ministry of Education so that we begin educating our children from nursery school up to the university, knowing the importance of wildlife and why we need to conserve it. I also want to encourage the parents to be watching National Geographic so that children are aware about wildlife. But our parents at home, they put these war films where you see blood being pouring, people are shooting one another, and children now begin to think of shooting all the time. But if we show them National Geographic films, they begin to understand that this wildlife is an important resource to them. So we're going to step up conservation education in the medias like this so that people begin to know about wildlife. I think many people are enjoying this presentation because of the importance of this resource.
Right.
Yeah, thank you.
Right, thank you. Dudu, your final message before you can wind up.
Yes, thank you. Well, this really is, I want to echo what Colonel Charles has said. This wildlife belongs to the people of South Sudan, and what an incredible natural resource you have. It is a natural resource that the entire world is looking at with wonder and going, my goodness, what an incredible thing that this great migration exists. And so, yes, it is a collective responsibility. It is the responsibility of the government. It's the responsibility of African parks, and it's the responsibility of the people to protect it for South Sudan and for the world.
All right, thank you very much, Dudu Douglas Hamilton, Regional Operations Manager, African Parks, and Colonel Charles Lakou, Director of Media and spokesperson of the Ministry. Thank you both for joining us on the Dawn today. Thank you. Hope to see you again soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right.
We enjoyed it. Thank you.
Right. With that, we have come to the end of the Dawn edition for today. Join us again tomorrow morning at the same time to get the latest on what's happening in South Sudan and beyond the borders. Up next, news in Arabic with Obachuku Chagawa. On behalf of the Dawn team, Paulino Ate, Awan Moses, Darlington Moses, and producer Barry Johnson, this has been Emmanuel Joseph Akile. Have a good day. We'll catch up again tomorrow.